And then we'll have to finish it.
With that or anything?
Look like a scene.
I'll just watch for him, and when he jumps on, I'll let him in and. I
That
think
wasn't
we
your
can
voice,
start.
was it, Katie?
No, that is the lovely Zoom recording lady.
All right, it's noon, so I'll go ahead and open up the March 11th, 2025 URA meeting. Call it to order. Open it up for citizen comment. All right, there being no citizen comments, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Yes.
Do I have to have a motion in a second?
You have to open the public
I
hearing.
thought I opened it already.
No.
You just
Sorry.
ask for citizen comment.
Oh, sorry. My brain's already dead and tired. I told you I was tired today. Okay, so let's start over again after citizen comments. We'll open up the public hearing and annual report. And see if anybody has any comments from the public. There being no comments from the public, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing on the annual report.
So moved.
And
Second.
okay, maybe to open that up for discussion now. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, moving on to the active agenda, approval of minutes of February 11th, 2025. Let me do them together.
You can, if you want to,
Okay.
you can just do them separately, doesn't matter.
All right, we'll do the minutes together. So approval of minutes of February 11th, 2025, as well as minutes from February 25th, 2025.
Motion approved.
Okay.
Minutes from February 11th and February 25th.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion, a second, open it up for discussion. Anybody have any changes or any questions? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, motion passes. I'll do all three invoices together. So approval of invoices, first one's O'Sullivan Legal in the amount of $649 for services of February. Second is City of Lewiston Administrative Services for the first half of October 2024 in the amount of $15,177.75. And Idaho County's Risk Management Program Annual Insurance Premium second half for $1,306. Entertain a motion.
I would so moved.
Second.
Okay, a motion a second. I'll open up for discussion. Anybody have any questions on any of the invoices? Okay, there being no questions. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, motion passes. Next item is review of financial summary for February of 2025.
And I have not received it yet. so
Okay, so
We don't have that one again.
we don't have that, so we will move on from that and open it up for the presentation of the annual audit of FY24 for Fresnel and Gage.
So I have Ms. Dawn Aliberti from Fresno and Gage here to present the annual audit. So it is in your packet and she will kind of lead you guys through.
I also brought the final copy.
Oh, my God. You know, okay,
Absolutely.
Or, and for those who aren't here.
Yeah.
Just a kind of little summary, discussion summary here.
And everybody,
I've handed out all the goodies. You have the bound copy of what I sent Katie, or what's in your packet is the draft from last week. I don't believe that there's any changes as far as numbers, things like that. I know that there's probably page numbers aren't right and things like that, just cosmetic type things. So there isn't any difference between the draft as far as the numbers go and the one I just handed out in the bound. Then it's a little. Okay. So we're here to talk about the fiscal year that ended September 30, 2024. This is the annual audit that we'll discuss. So this is the component unit, as you all are aware, of the City of Lewiston, the Urban Renewal Agency. As an independent auditor, we are here to conduct the audit, follow standards, and issue an opinion on the financial statements that have been presented. We are issuing we give a reasonable opinion, not an absolute. We don't look and test every single transaction that goes on in our audits. We do samples and test things like that, even though the amount of activity that the URA has, we cover a lot of material in there. However, we don't cover every single thing. So we're gonna go through this information. The information that you're provided shouldn't be anything new to you. You shouldn't open up a financial statement, whether it be for the URA or any other one that's audited, and be shocked by the numbers that are presented in there. It should be just a recap of what you have seen throughout that fiscal year. And of course, in a different format to follow standards and that kind of thing, but not, you shouldn't flip to the bottom line and go, oh my gosh, what happened? You know, because you're basing business decisions on financials as you go along each time you meet. So the information shouldn't be that of any shock to you. And it's an audit is providing you feedback of the quality of the URA's accounting records, and also some assurance of following laws and regulations. Everybody has some responsibilities in this. The auditors, we have responsibilities to follow standards, be independent, issue an opinion based on the financial information that we're given. That's our responsibility. The only thing that belongs to President Gage is the opinions or the reports that are in that. The rest of the information, the numbers, all that belongs to management, which includes you folks as the governing body. You're also responsible for having appropriate accounting policies in place to make sure that accounting transactions are handled in an appropriate manner and entered and presented correctly. I mentioned about the audit reports. In your packet on page 3 is the audit opinion over the financial statements as a whole. And I think it's about 3 pages long, and I'm gonna sum it up. Basically, that report answers the question, do the URA financial statements accurately reflect the agency's revenue, expenses, and results of financial position as of September 30, 2024? And we have issued an unmodified or a clean opinion on that financial statement. The other opinion that's on page 19 is over the internal controls, and there is no concerns or no reports of control issues within the URA. Some recap information, if you turn to page 6 of the financial statements. And I think 6 is 6, whether it's in your drafts or in your in the bound one. That's one page. We had page 10, so apparently we liked page 10. But anyway, that's my choice. So let's talk about the cash in the bank as of September 30, 2024. There was 1,500,000 cash in the bank. 872 of it was current, 628 was restricted. Of the 872 cash balance, I have in your summary there, I broke out what each one of the areas had of what their portion is of that 872,000. So East Main was approximately 4,000, East Orchard Sewer about 800,000, Dryden Avenue 33,000, and downtown Normal Hill about 28,000. That makes up that balance of 872,000 of the current cash portion. In addition, there is the restricted or reserved of 628,000. That's required based on the bond reserve to have restricted funds. In addition, there's investments reported around $2 million, and those are broke out into 3 of the revenue areas. East Orchards, $384,000, Brighton Avenue, $1,000,003, and downtown, $300,000 roughly makes up those balances. The other big significant item on this particular statement of net position would be the bond payable. So at the end of September 30, the bond payable is $1,072,685. Of that, $118,000 is current, so that would be the principal payment that's due within 1 year of September 30. And the long-term portion is $954,000. The breakout, if you're curious of how that amortizes out and what is required over the term, page 13 through 14, that maybe 14, 15, if I change the numbers. So 13, down page 13 and 14. So by 2033 is when it's scheduled to be paid off. Is the bond, and you can see that the principal payments that are required and interest with the total payment amount of $148,000 for each year. Just to recap, the original loan was taken out for $1,980,000. And it was either last year or the year before, you guys paid an extra $300,000. Was it the year before?
It was the year before.
Year before that, 22, 23. I don't know.
23, we had an extra payment, and 22, we had an
Extra payment. So in 2024, there was not an extra payment, just kind of a history. Awesome there. On page 7 is the statement of activities. The urban renewal had a change in net asset or income for the year of approximately $800,000. The revenue sources for the urban renewal are basically taxes and interest on cash investments, that kind of thing. Not a big sources, just those two sources. The expenses, you'll see, are at the top of that particular page. They're into, and I think I wrote 3 categories, but I think there are 4 categories. Each Orchard, Main, Brighton Avenue, and downtown. So you'll see that those descriptions are there. On page 21, you don't have to flip it, it's the very, very last page. Those revenue allocation areas are listed in column form, so you can really see how much was revenue and how much was expenses. I think it's just expenses. Yeah, revenue and expenses by those categories vary in column form. It's a little bit easier to see that. And that's probably what you're used to seeing on a monthly basis based on revenue areas is that type of a format. The things to note is the URA rebated $1,130,000 of property taxes during the year. It was done towards the end of the year, but that was what happened. And that would have been for the East Main project. And you'll see that on page 21. It had East Main, the rebate of that. The page 8 is the balance sheet on a governmental fund basis. The prior pages that I talked about is on the accrual basis of accounting, so revenue is recorded when it's earned and expenses are recorded when they're incurred. Here on the fund basis, this 8 and 9 are on the modified basis. You'll see the only difference between the pages in the front has to do with the debt. So on the page 8, the long-term debt is not reported, so there's a reconciliation at the bottom to show how you get from page 8 back to page 6. And the same on page 9, how you get back to page 7. The page 9 would report the total payment of the debt service. That would be the interest and the principal, where on just the balance sheet, on the reports, just the principal portion. And I already pointed out the revenue allocation area breakdown on page 21. And I'm not going to go through and of course you read the notes to you. I know you all are capable of doing that. Hopefully You'll see on page 10 is the different, revenue allocation areas and kind of what's been going on with that. It should probably mimic what Katie puts in her annual, report that gives a recap of what's been going on, and we got this information from Katie. And again, I pointed out to you on page 13 and 14, that's the breakdown of the loan. Those are probably some of the key areas in the footnotes to kind of pay attention to. Couple things I did put in my summary was kind of, at one point, I think in the URA, I was asked, how do we communicate if there's any issues or concerns? And on the last page of my summary page, I put in ways that we could communicate any deficiencies in internal controls as
What
auditors.
page is that?
It's on the very last page of my little summary here. And it's Roman numeral 6. And it's options of communicating to, of audit of internal control related matters. And if there's some deficiencies or things that we identify during our audit, then there is 3 ways that we could report that information. And I have listed those here. And that's just for your information. Sometimes people like to know, like, hey, if there was something going on, how would we be notified or how would we know? And there's basically 3 ways. We can issue a finding, which there is no finding. We can do a formal letter separate of the financials, or we can just have some oral comments. And out of those 3 options, we didn't have any concerns that we needed to address in any one of those matters. So that was a good thing. Some required communications that we need to let you know as far as the part of the governing body. We did not have any journal entries during our audit. So why is that significant to you? It's significant because you were provided monthly or frequently your financial information. If the auditors come in and we issue journal entries, or we do a bunch of journal entries to get those financials in line, things aren't reported correctly, then you may have made a business decision throughout the year that may be different than really what the financials show. We didn't have any journal entries, and sometimes we do have them, but they're minor to the point where you wouldn't change your mind, on what business decision you had. We did not have any disagreements with how accounting, reporting, and any auditing matters during our audit. If we did, I would have probably have called one of you at some point and someone come down with the hammer on whoever, Katie or one of the people we're talking to. But we didn't have any of those issues, and we did not become aware of any fraud or legal acts during our audit. And yeah, that's what I have. I just want to thank the city staff, everybody who's involved, Katie, the folks in accounting who do that work, and for all their help in making this a pretty easy, seamless type of an audit here today. So if you have questions, I'd be happy to answer some questions for you now. You probably can answer the questions too, but if I'm here for you guys, work for you as you're the board, work for you. And also if something comes up throughout the year, we don't just audit like once a year. You see my face, and you can reach out to me at any point too throughout the year.
I do have one question.
Yes.
It's nothing major, but on page 19,
Yes.
there's like 2 dates mixed together. I think it's supposed to be February 12th. Just as an FYI, I don't think it impacts anything, but just pointing it out.
Page 19.
19, it's,
Oh, yeah.
I think it's supposed to be the 12th. Right?
It's supposed to be the 12th.
Yeah, right here. Just FYI,
Okay.
but I don't think it impacts anything.
No, but I would like to probably replace that page on your balance financials, so it's not reported that way.
Yeah, just cross it out.
If you want to cross yours out and do it, you can.
I just noticed it, so I want to.
Thank you. It's the 12th. Yeah, sometimes our system does a double and I don't know why. And with a different date, so.
All right, does anybody have any questions? Okay. There's no questions. I'd entertain a motion to accept
the FY 24 annual audit presented by President Wage.
Motion that.
I'll second that.
Okay, I guess no discussion, so all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, motion passes.
And if you want that page corrected on your bound copy, I will do that for you.
And thanks again.
Commissioner Havens doesn't want his done.
Well-
He's
I
gonna
think
cross
it's,
it out.
yeah, I think
I
it's
think we're
totally
good.
fine.
I
But
will
anyway,
probably replace those.
Okay.
And then send you an electronic copy with it, correct?
That would be
Commissioner, that'd be fine?
Yeah, because then I think it's better to check.
thank you for all your hard work.
And thank you.
You found a good level of cooperation.
Good level. I did have to come over a couple times with my bodyguard and.
Yeah.
Other than that.
That's good, thank you.
All right, moving on. Our next item is approval of the annual audit FY 2024.
You guys just did that.
We just did.
We combined it.
Oh, sorry. You can tell my brain was just on it today. Okay, next item, adoption of annual report 2024.
Okay, so, we reviewed the annual report, at the last meeting, and you guys had some adjustments. I made all of the adjustments as suggested. And our public hearing and nobody came out. And no other comments were received, so the one that, was included in your packet and is in front of you would be the final. So unless there are any additional questions. I did add, the chart that we discussed that has, East Orchard sewer and bond payments, so you can see that I included, the 2 years we were just making interest payments, and then, the 4 years since then, when we had interest and, principal. Under the principal section, you'll notice that in 22 and 23, those principal payments are larger. I did not separate out the additional principal payments
Yeah.
separately. I just included them in the one that seems to be the cleanest way to do it. But then you can see it's balanced. And so I'll continue to have this in the annual report moving forward, and I'll just update it with each year's payment.
Perfect. So.
Changes, I'll entertain a motion to adopt the annual report for 2024.
I will move approval.
Second.
Okay, the motion is second. I'll open it up for any further discussion. Anybody have any? None? Okay, with there being no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, motion passes. All right, next item is write-in revenue allocation area update.
Okay, so Mr. Anderson had asked for an update, and unfortunately he's not here, but he wants to leave. Our meeting afterwards, so, and then I also have Dustin Johnson and Luke Antonich from the city, doing additional questions, so. I had reached out to both Dustin and Barney Metz regarding the Brighton Avenue, project and kind of where we're at. And so the update I had gotten from Dustin was that, the city, along with the local highway technical assistance council, and DEA are, doing an additional scoping, for a supplement agreement for the environmental document that has to be done on the project, like as a whole. The next item would be completing the right-of-way package. Currently, the plan is for a 5-lane section, which would require, the city to purchase additional right-of-way to be able to do that. There is, they're considering doing a supplement to analyze the feasibility of doing a 3-lane roadway section with some roundabouts instead. They have not finalized that contract, yet. But they're thinking that will go in front of city council for approval next month in April of 2025. So there's still several steps. And one of those kind of larger steps is, the State Transportation Improvement Program, STIP, is where they get a lot of the funding for this project. And is waiting, we have to wait. We have to wait until there is enough money from that program to do the right-of-way acquisition. And Dustin can kind of timeline that, because it's in the future by quite a bit. And so then when I reached out to Barney Metz with Lloyd, I asked kind of, my understanding is that the rest of the project would need to move forward, and then Lloyd has their plans to do their water line improvements, right? And then the agreement that the URA has with Lloyd would be that we would pay 50% of those water line improvements. So Barney's response was currently Lloyd does not have immediate plans for the water line replacements in Brighton Avenue. Then he said, if circumstances arose with funding on behalf of the city moving forward, we would consider reprioritizing our next 5 to 10 year construction cycle to make those plans integrate with overall as seamlessly as possible our partners. So they would try to reorganize their stuff so that it would fit in with the rest of the project. And so that was kind of just his update is they have to wait for the rest of the project to move forward. They're not going to just do the replacement of the lines prior to the rest of it going on. So we're still in kind of a wait and see on that one. And we might have, I guess, Dustin, and you can clarify if I say this incorrectly. There might be better information after they've done that feasibility for the 3-lane section rather than the 5-lane section of kind of where this project's actually going to move to.
Yep, yeah, I mean, where we're at right now with the full 5-lane section, depending solely on federal dollars, we're like, to go all the way to Thane, we're 60 years, I mean, I'll be dead by the time I get to Thane with how we're doing it. Because you gotta do design, which incorporates all the environmental, then you go into right-of-way acquisition, and then you go into construction. And currently, looking at what's going on in Boise right now, we're at $800,000, we could get him down to $600,000 a year. And so as construction prices escalate, the 5-lane section, what's frustrating from somebody who just wants to build things, that's a long timeline to get this project going. And so looking at a 3-lane section, the only thing I'd correct is preferred not roundabouts, but functionality, levels of service through the intersections. They're looking at signals, intersection, removing accesses, adding access, moving accesses, trying to figure out, will a 3-lane section work, and what does the intersection controls look like to get it to pass? Because I think I said at council, if its level of service is me and it only survives to 2030, we're not going to build a 3-lane section and then just have it fail or have to be replaced in 5 years. So that 3-lane, so the benefits of the 3-lane section is obviously no right of way and cheaper construction, and would push us faster along to get the Thane. So that's kind of where we're at, and I'm not going to make any predictions or promises. We'll look what the data says and then move forward. And I had a meeting with Barney last week and said the exact same thing.
Yes. Okay, any questions for Dustin while we have him?
All right.
Well, I guess clarify, when you say 3-lane, you mean the center lane all the way down?
Yeah, in the old times, we called that the suicide lane.
Yeah.
The center turn lane,
Um,
which is basically what it is now. I mean, we would build sidewalks, 5
Yeah,
lanes or whatever, and then 2 travel lanes in the turn.
So there would be no right of way acquisition immediately,
Generally, yeah. I mean, I'm not.
except for maybe roundabouts or whatever.
If there was, intersection controls or
Yeah.
some areas that it connects down, I'm not aware of.
But it would be wider than it is now.
I'm not sure, I don't know what the section would look like. I know we have adequate right of way for what's out there now. But so the basic functionality wouldn't change, other than you would have sidewalk all the way down.
Have we, I'm sorry, are we still in discussion?
Yeah, we are. I was trying to find it.
We built some sidewalks already, haven't we? So those would come out.
Yeah, when we're committed to this 5-lane section and we've acquired right of way and we've built sections, and now, and even there's been case law over the last 5 years that is pushing the city not to require right of way dedication. So even regardless of what section we go with, we still have to amend how we're doing business. And that's, again, I've said this to the council, that's the problem. When you take Because we started this in 2020 or early 2000s. And codes change, councils change, case law changes over time. And so now, we're committed to something and now times changed. Now we gotta kind of alter how we do business. The one last thing was why, and I know this is one area of town that people give a lot of feedback on it. It's either the best street in the, it functions just, I shouldn't say the best street. It functions fine versus it's a parking lot nightmare and it's probably somewhere in the middle. It is that, I lost my train of thought. Never mind, keep going.
I think it depends on the time of day that you.
It is, yeah, that's the functionality of, it's particularly some of those intersections that Fifth and Dryden, Seventh and Dryden, for the worst one, of course, Dane and Dryden.
Do you remember the date that the Brighton Canyon, the contract, like the expiration of it? Or with this being like a 60-year
Oh,
project, is it gonna be, are we gonna have issues with it taking so long in the date versus the date? the
We
timeline?
might, it is one of the newer ones, so I believe our sunset date is in like 41, maybe.
Okay.
I would have to go pull, I don't remember what the exact date
So
is,
it
yeah.
won't become our problem, but I
Um,
just was curious.
but that would be, I think the idea is, like any of our, revenue allocation areas where the plan is to partner with another entity to get a larger scope of work done, and ours is just a piece of that.
Yeah.
I think this is part of the reason why we continuously do these updates and continuously check in with those partners. Make sure that, there is gonna be feasible projects, because if there's not gonna be feasible projects that, we can partner with, then we would need to, just like we did before we closed Maine, we would need to look and see, okay, are there projects we can do on our own that we can afford? Or is the better idea to just close out the area because we're not gonna be able to do anything with it. So I think that's part of the reason why we continuously check on these, so.
Well, thank you.
I remember my thought.
Okay.
When they originally set this up early 2000s and Brighton Canyon was opened up. There's a nice poster back here. The traffic volume switched dramatically. I mean, the Southway was the general course that everybody would go to get to the orchards, and it flip-flopped. And so we have projects, Southway, if you look at the sidewalks that are elevated, that was gonna be a 3-lane section all the way up to 21st.
Yeah,
Well, that's no long, the traffic volumes aren't there, and so I think when they started on Dryden, the expectation was, wow, we had a dramatic increase and we're gonna continue to see that, but it's plateaued quite a bit. We haven't seen that, increase in traffic like we did, when they opened Dryden Canyon. So we'd wanna go back and look at, what were the numbers they used to determine a 5-lane section was necessary? Are those still valid moving forward? That's part of that analysis.
Perfect. Thank you. All right, anybody else have any other questions?
Well, I'm a little concerned about Dustin thinking the entire project might not be done during his lifetime. And what that portends for me.
He's a pessimist.
I'm older than you think, but.
Awesome. All right, well, thank you for all your hard work on that. And we'll just get some updates moving forward. So, moving on, I'll open it up for board member comments. Does anybody have any comments?
no.
All right, there being no comments, I'll open it up for staff comments.
So our next meeting is April 8th, so just to show of hands, is anyone unable to attend?
No.
Everybody's okay? Okay. And then I guess the only other thing, since we did not receive the financial, statement, once I do get that from finance, I will send that out to the board, and then we'll have it in next month's packet, again, to review together. But I will get it sent out to you once I've received it. You will see on there, we did do a transfer at the very end of the month, to the state insurance pool, or investment pool, sorry. Just because we get so much better interest rates with them than we do just hanging out in the order, so. Yes, those would be my only two things.
All right.
I guess with that being our last item, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Promotion.
Okay.
Okay, motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Hi.
Aye.
All opposed? Meeting adjourned. I'm so tired. I like that one hurts.
So.
Thank you, Dad.